Come on, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream. You may notice in the remote studio, Stephanie Mitchel Hughes, a lady who's gone through a number of issues through a good portion of her life, to come through hard places, come up the other side, and hopefully we'll be able to impart some wisdom based on the lessons she's learned along the way. However, we have a situation, ladies and gentlemen. I seem to remember there's an old expression of someone playing the fiddle while Rome burnt. And we have a similar situation going on here. In the land of opportunity, the land of discovery, the land where everyone's future can be whatever they want it to be, we have a situation. And because of that situation, without going into that, we're apolitical here. To go without going into the whys and wherefores, and rather dealing with what is, I think overall, and it's not just I would say it's a black and white sensibility alike, that joy has not been in abundance. And it's quite hard to find your joy. Mm-hmm. That's why we call today's episode Reclaiming Joy whilst the world is in turmoil. Definitely.
Yeah, reclaiming joy, even regardless of whether it is the world or your world.
Well, quite right. That's a good point. That's a good point, because from most people's perspective, their world is what they see in their televisions, what they see on their phones, what they hear on the radio, what they see on the street corners, and this is what their world is defined by. So
what happens to them? Right. You know, we've all had these periods, you know, where it's like if everything could go wrong, whatever could go wrong will. Right. We can just, fill in the blank. X happened. And it can seem like it's just one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. And we have to learn how to reclaim our joy in that. So, there's been, and I've watched, and we've talked at length about what we see on social media.
Yes.
Relative to the way that some, maybe many people within the Black community are reacting and responding to what seems to be chaos and confusion and ripping everything apart in the United States.
Right.
Whether that's chaos, whether it's confusion, whether it's intentional, unintentional, I'm behind the curtain.
We can say it doesn't matter whether it's intentional or not. The net effect is the whole of the United States feels almost like it has a heavy weight hanging around its neck.
Well, it gives the impression that things are careening out of control. But the videos that I have seen a lot of with respect to Black people, right. And the thing I need to say here is oftentimes people will often assume that Black people all think about, react, respond to something in the same way. And just like any other group of people, Black people are not a monolith, okay? But the thing that has really been, I guess it's given me and caused me to smile, are the videos that we see of Black people dancing. And the caption at the top is, "While the world falls apart, Black people are dancing. Black people are finding joy, finding happiness, having a good time." And some could say, when you look at this, you watch these videos, some people could watch them and conclude, well, why are they acting like this? You have 20,000 people who were fired from the Department of Health and Human Services. You have people may be losing their homes, their health has been affected, programs have been decimated. The stock market has been up, down, all around, upside down. Folks have lost trillions of dollars. The
Right.
401k, your 401k is empty, and people have the nerve to be out. These people are dancing, they're line dancing, they're doing boots on the ground and, set it off, and they've got fans, and they just seem to be just living it up. And
And I think here's the point. And here's the point in all this.
but see the twist, don't get that twisted. It's not as if these people who you see dancing, who are having a good time and everything else, they are finding their joy, because in some respects, this is not our lesson really to learn. And what I mean by that is, I voted. I can tell you what I did. I voted.
Right.
Made sure that my children, who are young adults, that they went out and they voted, because they know how strongly I feel about voting. I had conversations. I educated all of that, did all the things to get people to the polls. Well, not a whole lot of stuff, but I did everything that I could to encourage people to go to the polls, to vote, to educate themselves about issues, all of those things. And then I myself went out and exercised my right to vote.
Right.
And so I am one, and I am part of the 92%.
Right.
And the reason that I did that is because I knew that what is happening right now would happen if a certain person was elected to the office.
Right.
I knew that. And if I'm like, you know what? The candidate who I voted for wasn't not elected. Okay, fine. But the point is, we knew that this was going to happen. We
Yep.
told people what was going to happen.
I thought it was quite easy to predict,
Right. I'm
frankly.
like, so if we told you this is what's going to happen,
Yeah.
and you chose not to believe us
Right.
and chose to go in a completely different direction,
Yeah.
and then and your life starts getting ripped apart, and you can feel the ground shaking beneath you, and your world is falling apart, don't come to me. I don't want to hear about that. Because see, when things like this happen within our community, we are out dancing. Yes, we are finding joy. Yes, we are building community. But the other thing that we are doing is we are praying. We are resting. We are doubling down and moving in to protect ourselves. And just because you don't see us doing this we haven't recorded it for everyone to see, doesn't mean that we are indifferent to suffering. It
No.
means we knew what was going to happen. We told you what was going to happen. And now that it has happened, then you've got to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And part of that is finding what brings you joy. So we're going to take this particular situation, what we see happening right now, where it appears that the world is falling apart, and we'll bring it a little bit closer to home. So let's
Right.
set aside what's happening in America right now, and let's just bring this home. Um, right now, and just I'll put my own self on blast a little bit here, but unfortunately, a few weeks ago, I celebrated remembered the 1 year anniversary of my brother's sudden passing. And we talked about that here.
Yes.
And, you know, in America, I don't know about in your neck of the woods, Gareth, but in America, they have different days that people celebrate. And one of the days that it was, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, it was National Siblings Day. Well, I don't have a sibling anymore. I know, you know, anything for a party, but I digress.
Well, I think it's actually anything for a card.
But you know, my sibling is gone.
I
My
know.
mother, my dad is now in June, he will have been gone for 5 years. It's
Right.
unbelievable to me. And my
I'm,
mom is
I'm sorry for your
my
loss.
mom and I are the only ones who are left.
Right.
And I never saw my life working out in this way. I haven't lived in my parents' house, lived there since 1980 when I left to go to school, left to go to Spelman. And now I am, my mom is, you know, she's 89. This year, Lord willing, she will be 90. And we are in that bittersweet season where people are dying all the time, all around us. People who shaped us, who in some cases birthed us, are gone. Siblings, gone. Cousins, gone. Best friends, gone. And so we have all of this happening all around us. And I think that part of being resilient is finding in the midst of challenging situations, resilience also means finding joy.
I think it's your responsibility to if you have any intention of trying to have any kind of longevity in your life. If you're thinking, I want to make it for another 20 years, I want to be part of this for another 20 years minimum, then the only way is to try and find something that gives you joy, because there is very little else in life that's worth having other than joy.
Well,
And
yeah. I mean, because like you know, I wind up having to go see my mother a lot more.
of course,
And I'm helping her a lot more. And it's hard on me and I'm not complaining, but it's tough to do because I still have long COVID. But I'm not going to just leave my mother out to fend for herself. But when you're nearly 90 years old and you've lost a child very suddenly at 80 when you were 88, and then your spouse is gone, you know, and everything else that defined your life, because my mother is the only surviving, has been the only surviving member of her family of origin since 2010.
right,
And so, you know, I see my mom, you know, she's got some cognitive things going on. And so then that involves a completely different shift and some very, very hard questions that I'm navigating right now and having to wrestle with. But the thing is that I could sit and go, oh my goodness, you know, look at how old I am. I don't have that much time left. My family is, you know, people who I love, people who define me are gone. Oh my goodness, I'm left with this house that has been in my family since 1965. And and just think about how overwhelming it all is.
right.
But even in the midst of all of this, I still have a responsibility to myself to find joy.
So I think that's the message for
Hmm.
everyone out there, because I'm going to draw this to a close in a second. But before I do so, I would say everyone, if they want to, I don't think people realize that if they're in the midst of misery, it's not just inflicted upon them, it's inflicted on everyone around them. And
Hmm.
if they want to live within a community, they have it's necessary. It's intrinsic for to have any kind of life is to find some level of happiness. And the best way of generating happiness for me was always dancing.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
and I tell you guys, if you guys can find some boots on the ground line dancing and take a look at it, that I watch it and it fills me with joy. Seeing guys out there with their fans going, with their hands going, dancing along, and
And
then
you see a lot of black people out doing this dance. One of my good friends, she was with a group of women learning how to do boots on the ground. And they went viral doing that because and when I saw the video, I didn't know that she had done the video and that they had been videotaped. But when it had gone viral, and then I see the video and I'm looking at this and going, wait a minute, that's Karin back there. And I'm like, well, what is Karin doing? And they're learning doing line dancing. This line dance,
yeah,
boots
but
on the
guys,
ground.
if you, it's not any normal line dancing. This is
They
with
take the
no
people who are
disrespect,
doing it,
no
the people
disrespect
who are
to any other
doing
kind of line dancing. This has got a lot more bounce to it.
right. I
This,
mean,
yeah, I love
they
it.
they add the people who you see and whose videos I've seen, they are adding their own flair to it.
Right, right.
And just really have they are just there having a great time, and and it
But
just
it is,
really makes
but
me
but but
happy.
it is joyful, and
Yes,
and
it
and I
is.
suppose what I'm just going to say before I wind this up is that that's a great example. Here we are
Mhm.
in the midst, in the maelstrom of
Mhm.
madness, in the chaos that is out there, and there are people, groups of people across the states that are finding, in this particular occasion, finding joy by doing something together that is fun, enjoyable, musical, and expressive. And I would suggest that all of you out there that may be feeling like you got to sit there and lick your wounds and moan, I would ask you to put a pin in that for a second and go
Mhm.
and find something that makes you feel just for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 hours, that makes you feel good, that makes
Mhm.
you feel uplifted. And and I think you'll thank me and thank Stephanie for this later, because if this wakes you up to the fact that you don't have to wallow, but you can express through joyful participation, then please take it as that. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground, keep reaching for the stars, and do try and look after that mental health during these terrible times. But until next time, find your joy, everybody. Find your joy, America.
Yes.
Take care,
Yes.
Steph. Thank you very
Be
much.
joyful.
There you go. Until next time. Bye bye.
Bye.